Hello and welcome to another episode of the Hahn Films Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Hahn, owner and executive producer at Hahn Films. On this podcast, we explore the ins and outs of filmmaking with cast, crew, clients, and more who have worked with us. Today, we are speaking with Robert Mannanice, an old friend of mine and producing partner on many of the early works of Hahn Films, everything from Tragically to Legacy of Snakes and now Generation Hack. Rob is an amazing person who has grown to be a very spiritual and intellectual being within my life. And yes, I say being because he just holds himself in this higher positive light, very different than anyone that I've ever met or probably will meet. And you'll see that today in this interview. So without further ado, here is Robert Mannanice.
You never told him?
We were all part of this. I could have found a way.
I can't just be stone cold and help fix the world.
Every species on the planet fights for survival.
I will stand, and I will fight to save this world.
60 Hahn, take two.
Hello, Robert. Long time no see. How are you doing this very fine day?
I am doing excellent, Matt. Nice to see you as well, good brother.
You too. So you and I have worked together. We're great friends. We talk spirituality and all sorts of amazing things. But I really want to start from the beginning a little bit here and talk about our friendship, how we met, and how we, you were one of those people that were roped into making movies with me as a teenager. And unfortunately, we made this amazing sci-fi epic, which I think is interesting. So as of speaking, you kind of started with me making a sci-fi epic and it fell apart. The footage is gone, it's lost. And you ended with me at this moment making a sci-fi epic. And we both went off into separate journeys from there. But
Wow.
I think that's very interesting. So I'd love to hear your perspective on our early days and making Gray Skies, for those of you who don't know that film.
Wow, it's quite an interesting journey to even kind of going this memory bank. There's such condensed memories with you, Matt, and just like all sorts of experiences through movies, our hangouts, video games, inspirations as we got over, as you said, spirituality, but just shenanigans just as we were younger too. And the moments of to go really back to the origin, my first perspective, my first memory is in middle school, I believe, right? Middle school. And I remember before we officially knew each other and like hung out, we were in the same class. I forget what class it was. I always saw you had like was it the voodoo? Oh my God, the Rolling Stones t-shirt.
Oh, yeah.
And also I remember some reason House of a Thousand Corpses came up and we like oddly bonded over like small like things of like, you like that too? Oh, you're weird too? Cool. Yeah, we're the cool weird kids liking the same things, or like I didn't even know about that thing. And over time through class we like got to know each other and probably bonded over just like things like interests like that.
I wonder, man, I'm so curious what class that was, but I don't know, man. In middle school, probably I would think like English or literacy, something like that. I'm
guessing that.
Now that you're like saying this, I'm like, oh yeah, I do remember. Like, dude, House of a Thousand Corpses is such a creepy movie still to me to this day. I saw it when I was like 13, and I don't think I could watch that movie still. Like, it just holds this place in my memory as like, just one of the scariest things I ever saw. Just because of the time I watched it.
Yeah, and it intrigued me. And like growing up and watching horror movies, like I watched that movie at least a handful of times, and I was like so intrigued and curious by it, maybe because of like it existed. I don't know what drove me to horror, or any of us. Now I don't watch horror specifically. I'm not trying to get that in my brain. I already have enough on my plate as a human being, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't need that. But it's curious of like, I grew up on a lot of that. I probably watched The Shining when I was 5. Anyway, our friendship had that like that's the origins I remember, and it just kept growing through Metal Gear Solid,
Oh yeah.
through our interest in movies, and then that's when it was like you shared, obviously you're a filmmaker and you were making films as a kid, and you had projects and inspirations or aspirations making during high school, and as we're all together, and we got looped in, and then Justin Ho and just the crew came together, and
Yeah.
I think just gung ho of like our um our similar interests in movies and how movies inspired us and how we talked about it. And then
Yep.
you had the ambition and just like the vision to always like do something. You had that like alpha like that
Oh
director
God.
vision.
I thought you were
for
gonna
us.
call me an alpha male for a second.
You're such an alpha male. An alpha group in a way you were, oddly enough. And at the time, you had that just like confidence, even
Yeah.
just as a young kid, you always had that like straight line vision, especially in filmmaking, and you knew what you wanted in a way. At least to
Yeah.
me, I had like, I don't know what the frig I wanted. I just like had inspirations. I went all over the place. I just wanted to help and do something cool.
Yeah.
And it just was like it immediately connected. I immediately bonded with you and was always like, yes, yeah, let's do this. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but like, you want help? Let's do this. I'll get robbed. I'll get punched in the face. I'll die by a fist through my stomach in a sci-fi movie, which is Gray Skies, everyone. And do all sorts of crazy stuff. So yeah, I just been loving just to ride, just to be on the journey, and as you have all these visions and like, let's do this thing. And I'm like, yes, cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's so awesome to hear. And again, I love hearing it from your perspective, because you've always been this type of person that's just cool with the flow of life. And it's so interesting to see you transition into who you are today, because you're just like an extreme version of that kid that was just like, yeah, I'm cool with pretty much anything. And yeah, I mean, just making that film, it's one of those moments in my life. I'm so saddened that it's gone, because but at the same time, it's such an interesting thing that only a few people in my life have memories of, and I can only talk about it with you and Justin and Mike Jadis, and it's this phenomenal thing that will only live in our memories and a few pictures, because I was able to hold on to a few screenshots from that movie. And yeah, it's brilliant that we were able to do that. And it was our senior year of high school, and just so many crazy things that we were trying. Mike Jadis on the hood of my Justin's like
Get
Jeep,
back.
and yeah, like just Justin, he'll never stop talking about the fact that he was the lead in that movie, which is something we never, like we never do. We never see Justin in that light. So like he's always been so upset that he can never see those moments anymore. But yeah, so it's so funny that that it's gone, but at the same time, so happy to be able to share that with you. And then yeah, I mean, one of the big things that I feel like we definitely bonded over throughout the years after that, especially, was our love of Quentin Tarantino and all of his films. And even though like we went off to separate colleges, and I was in Long Island and you were at Rider, we came together in our first year to go see Inglorious Bastards together. And oh my God, a life-changing movie for us, I feel, in our friendship, and just like for me as a filmmaker. And it was the first time I think you're able to meet Jackie, my wife, my future
Oh
wife.
yeah.
And I had been putting her through the paces and showing her Tarantino, and like allowing her the experience, and that was amazing for her to go through that for the first time. And then it all culminated with the fact that she fell in love with Reservoir Dogs to the point where she was like, this would be a great stage play. And I was like, hell yeah. And she decided to do this for her senior thesis in the theater program at our school, Five Towns. And I was like, Rob, you need to come see this thing. It's phenomenal, and you're gonna love it. So you were able to come to that, I remember, and I mean, that was such a cool experience. I think for both of us as fans of Tarantino to see like just a new version and like an inspired you know a theater performance of one of my favorite films and yours, I'm sure.
I remember, yeah, Bond Tarantino, which I didn't mention, was our one of our core, I think, pieces as developing like really close friends.
Yeah.
Just because how I know Tarantino changed both of our lives when discovering, and then coming together about that too amplified even more of like everything else we spoke about.
Right.
But it was been I love the journey of like connecting back with you each time in Long Island and like visiting whenever we can.
Right.
And that was an incredible experience. I thought that was so cool that Jackie was doing that with Reservoir Dogs, because like watching it, you're like, oh yeah, this is the scenes or the settings are so simple. Like
Right.
it was a perfect match for theater. I love that she did that.
Yeah. And it's so funny because like her and I talk about it today, and like we've obviously seen like Hateful Eight now, and it's kind of like a Cold War version of Reservoir Dogs in a way, because it's like, them stuck in this haberdashery for the entirety of the movie. And it's like that in itself, I mean, I know they did a reading of it, but that in itself could also be a really great stage performance. And I kind of like hope like Tarantino, and as he gets older, he dabbles in that, because I feel like he's just such a great writer. It reminds me of David Mamet when it comes to that, where like, oh god, I would love to see like a Glenn Ross type of thing from him on the stage, you know what I mean? But not to get like too into the weeds with our love for Tarantino. So as we moved out of college, then you and I started trying to make movies together again. And I roped you back in, and I was like, Rob, I have an idea, and you're here with me, and we're back to like just kind of like back to the way it was before before college. We were seeing each other all the time or whatever. I was like, I want to make this movie. And I was like, but I need somebody. I need a partner. I need somebody to produce this thing with me. And you were on board to do Tiger Lily. And yeah, that was like, I think that was like the beginning stages of like us trying to do kind of a producing partnership together. And it was just really cool to go through that process from writing to casting and whatever the case is. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Tiger Lily. Wow. I mean, Matt, anytime throughout life and probably continuing, anything that you, for some reason, that I feel like there's this quick little context. There's like a soul contract. I feel like there's something going on, because anytime you, Matt, like just came up with an idea and like, I have this vision, I'm going to do this thing. Like, no matter where I am, I feel called like, yeah, let's do, like, I got to do it. I just feel like it just felt like it was like not have to, but almost like, yeah, like it just feels right, just
Right.
like, oh, Matt has a new project and yearning for something, let's do this.
Yeah.
And with Tiger Lee, that was such an amazing experience, because Matt, like, I think between us two and how we all reflect each other in relationships, you've seen a lot in me that helped build me up in many ways and help develop my like the way I show up for myself and with others, and interpersonal skills, and like just like being in a producer role, or like the way you see me helped me grow a lot. And I'm so grateful for that. And like things that needed to be done, I was able to just help with. And that was such a beautiful experience of connecting, casting. Was that when I was in the co-working space? Was that for Tiger Lily?
Yeah, because that's when we brought everyone in to do the casting call there.
Wow, that was Tiger Lily. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was working at the co-working space. Well, I was working at a digital marketing agency in Manhattan at a co-working space, and we rented out, like, I guess like the conference for the casting calls.
Right.
That was awesome. And that was a fun experience too, of just like how to merge like all the avenues of like our lives, and like having this too was new for me to put on my plate. And I think that was a great challenge, and also just fun because we're doing something together. But that was like to a new height, I think,
Yeah.
like as especially as producer, I think there was like challenges of like, what can we do? Like, oh, like I have some decision here. Like, well, I know, like it was very interesting, and making that happen with um getting Nick involved at the time.
Nick
Yeah.
series. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, Nick emceed our premiere, and he was phenomenal. It's such a shame, that we lost him, but that
Yeah.
moment, thankfully there's a piece of history that we have recorded. And Devram, we used a lot of his
That's
music from Blood
yeah.
in the film, and they performed at the premiere, which is a good friend of yours. And there's
Mhm.
there's so much going on. And actually, you may not know this either, but my cousin Keith, who wrote a song for, specifically for Tiger Lily, he
Yeah.
passed away from cancer as well. So like, it's just now that you mention it, very strange, like, moment that we lost a few people that were such a big part of that premiere of Tiger Lily.
Mhm.
And I loved having that with you, and being able to show that movie to friends and family in New York. And yeah, that was one of the shining moments in my life thus far.
It was a very talking about it now too. It was a very eclectic mix of people, I feel like, coming
Yeah.
together for that. And again, having being in that producer role, there was like this, like, oh, weaving all different pieces, and like merging different like friendships and circles of our lives, and like really seeing, oh, that's like a movie's this grand puzzle, and getting to see all these fun, interesting, unique pieces in the
Right.
process. And that itself is like an experience and a challenge, and it could be stressful. And I can only imagine with larger production, and just like, oh, that's just a whole topic of itself. But like, just our experience together of just seeing the different areas of our life coming together that would have never been connected otherwise
Right.
is very, very interesting.
I mean, especially when you have to be producing in your underwear, sitting on my brother's couch for your cameo. My my
Yeah.
sister-in-law will never stop talking about that.
Really?
That couch is long gone, but like, when she still had it, she was like, "Ah, your friend Rob was in his underwear on my couch." And for those of you who are watching this and don't know what we're talking about, Tiger Lily is available as a web series on Hahn Films YouTube channel. Go check it out. It's an interesting roller coaster ride. Rob and myself, a lot of friends came together to make this film, but it is a very interesting shoestring film that we put together. And I was like, I want to release this, but releasing it to the public as a film, I feel like would not have hit as much as doing it as a web series. So I was like, you know what? The way I wrote the script, it works really well episodically. So
Hmm.
yeah, so it's out there for anyone to see. And I think I even might have released a little just a little video of the premiere too, so anyone could go and see that as well. But yeah, I mean, I love Tiger Lily, and I'm so happy to have been able to do that with you. I feel like that was a big to do for us, and it really helped me learn what I could do by myself too. Because on the
Hmm.
I kind of like was like, well, since Rob is coming in to produce, I'm gonna let him do as much of that as possible so that I could focus on the very creative stuff, directing. And I had to do a lot of the cinematography myself, aside from the days that I knew were going to be super hectic, and I brought Justin Ho in to DP. But yeah, I mean, you were there to like really make sure all the pieces came together, and helped us get a lot of the locations and picking the cast, and just and like just being on set too. You have a great presence. And it's funny, we were just watching our wedding the other day, and there's a big montage in the beginning, and you come up so much, but it's because I have footage of you um doing the clapboard for Tiger Lily. So it's just you doing all these goofy moments, and it's funny. It's funny because the intro to the Hahn Films podcast ends with you saying 60 Hahn, take one. Be- and
Really?
yep, it's just this brilliant little nugget that I was like, I love this so much, and I love that it's Rob. So I snuck it in there for anyone who knows the Easter egg. It's from Tiger Lily.
Oh, looking forward to hearing that.
Yeah, yeah. Hey all, are you a parent looking for a fun and exciting podcast to listen to? Well, look no further. Go check out Couple Chat. It's a conversational podcast between my wife and myself where we talk about everything from marriage, entertainment, events, and parenting. All for you, parents. You can listen to us on YouTube Music and Spotify. Let's chat. Tiger Lily was a huge undertaking, and it was, an amazing moment for both of us in our lives that I know I'll cherish forever. And we moved into doing some other little projects here and there. We played around with the idea of creating a production studio together, Treasure Mine Studios, with another really good friend of ours, Wesley Smoyak. And the three of us were like really, really going to try and do this thing. And it was an experiment that failed pretty quickly, but it was fun nonetheless to like brainstorm about something like that. And then I was like, I want to make a film about the passion that I have for, my favorite video game series, Metal Gear Solid. And I knew, again, that's something that you cherish with me. So I was like, Rob, let's do this thing. And that was so much fun. It was fun to be able to be in the boots of Solid Snake and Big Boss. And, again, I was putting myself in a new role, and you were there to like, I knew Rob would be able to produce this thing, and I would be able to take a little bit of a back seat so that we could get all the pieces together without me having to do it all alone. So that was really helpful, and it was a very fun project. But while we could talk all day about these little films we did before, we are now in the time of Generation Hack. And while this was, just an idea that came up for me when I was researching biohacking, and I was just so interested in that subject matter. At that time, you were living in Jersey City with your friend Brandy Lucas, who also has a podcast. Go check that out.
Brandy Goes to Hell. Yeah, she has a lot of episodes right now. I think she's taking a pause to recalibrate herself actively going forward, but there's years worth of episodes, which is really cool.
Yeah, she talks to a lot of local musicians and different bands, and it's a really interesting podcast, and you should check it out. But you were living with her at that time in Jersey City, and I came to stay with you guys for a weekend, and it was so enlightening being in that space. Can you talk a little bit about that weekend and some of the places that we went and like what we did in that short span of time?
Yeah, I mean, I remember you just wanted to get the lay of the land and just like a journey in Jersey City. And at that time, I've been living there for at least 2 years because I think I lived in Jersey City for almost 3 years. 1 year beforehand with a few friends we mentioned already, including Devram and Nick at the time. And then Brandy, I lived for 2 years. And so already had a good grounding in Jersey City, and I loved it. And you knew that. And we connected over there. I guess like I spoke about it before, and you already had like all Generation Hack. He had the idea in mind already, right? You had all this bubbling up for you.
Just like with Tiger Lily, it's just everything kind of like melds together. And I don't know, like maybe I had some thoughts about it and like jumping off points, and I don't know if Jersey City was in mind just yet. But I really attribute the location and the world building to this specific weekend that we spent together, because we walked around Jersey City. You being a local there at that time, you were able to like, I literally went
Yeah.
like grocery shopping with you. You know, like
Yeah,
we
yeah.
were in Jersey
We
City
did.
just living life. It wasn't like we were just being tourists. It was an amazing experience.
Yeah, I brought you to all the places I love, like, and yeah, as you said, like, just would have done anyway. And there's just like a lot of dense, rich culture. Being it's the Jersey side of like across the Hudson, super close to New York City, has that vibe of Jersey, and it's just more urban, sprawling, like hip, and you have a mix of all the worlds in there, different demographics. And I showed you parks. I forget if there was like a major event or anything we did specifically, but I know I showed you like all the parks I loved. I showed you probably we went grocery shopping. I showed you. I know
We
where
did,
we ate. There's so many restaurants I love there.
yeah. I'm
Did I
not
show you the sushi restaurant?
I don't know, because at that time you were like strictly vegan, I think.
Oh,
And
yeah.
we went to the grocery store though, and you had come up with a meal in mind, and we got a bunch of vegetables, and we made like this vegetable medley of sorts
Cool.
at your apartment.
Mhm.
And I that was just a fun experience. Like I got to cook with you, and like again, you like you didn't make this a big deal. You just let me live with you, and it was fantastic, you know? Like we were just in your kitchen on like the 3rd floor of this interesting like row
Oh,
house
yeah.
apartment thing. And that too, like, you know, these little things are like super inspiring. It was such a unique living experience that you had there. And you know, your bedroom was one floor, and then the bathroom was another floor, and then Brandy was like on the other side with like a closing screen thing, and then your kitchen was the top floor. It was so cool. And then I do remember one major thing, and this was very interesting to me anyway. But we went to a church nearby that was doing like a book drive. Do you remember that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little. Keep talking. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they were doing a book drive, and there was just, you know, this is 2018, 2019, and just so many people are in there just buying old books. And I just find
Mhm.
that so interesting, because we're living in a time where like we're in a digital age. People don't have physical books much these days. And just seeing all these people buying all these different books in this in you know, in a gym in a church was just so interesting to me. And like, you know, I'm sure it happens all over, but seeing it in the middle of like Jersey City, and like it's just a culture there. Like you said, it's just it's a very interesting epicenter of like so many cultures and so many different types of people coming together. You know, like you said, from New York City, from south and the middle of Jersey, like and even like probably Pennsylvania and others that like moved here from Europe or internationally, that like, oh, New York is way too expensive, I'll move to Jersey City where it's right across the water, you know? So it's like it's so intriguing to me, this place.
Mhm.
And I was like, this is just such an interesting area that I can tell this story in. Like it's never really been
Mm.
done before in this area, and this is just this just makes sense to me. Like it's this mixture of like gentrification going on, and like, you know, low income areas, and then, you know, because there's gentrification, there's a lot of construction going on too. And like it's funny that we're talking about it, because I don't think I've really been there for a little while now. And I almost really want to go, because Generation Hack is now coming out, and you know, I'm making some edits to the feature screenplay. I think I really need to go and sit down and walk around and just experience where it is today, because I feel like there's probably been more gentrification, and like I don't
Yeah.
know what's been going on there. Do you have any insight? Like, do you still have friends that live in Jersey City?
Brandy still lives there.
Okay.
Brandy and a few other people I'm not on. I don't have close tabs on anymore.
Yeah.
I know some people, but Brandy's probably my closest friend that's actively lives in Jersey City. Um, I'm guessing it's on the same trajectory like that when I was living there. As I said, like it North Jersey too, and around New York City, the Jersey area around New York City is so condensed. Like there's Hoboken. Like Hoboken was really like developed already. Like that was like the hop in space. And then to the right, to the left of it, to the west is Jersey City, and then just a little further in is Newark. So like you have like such a diverse and like other places too, but like Newark, Jersey City, Hoboken, and in Jersey City alone, I remember when I first moved there, pretty much my entire space, like I would be told like, this is where I lived, and then like, oh, don't go 2 blocks down because it's just a very different environment.
Right.
And it's very conflicting and interesting to like live in that space where the house that you saw me in, like 80-year-old couple owned that building. It was like a brownstone that was just a rare gem to like live in. I found on Craigslist, and it was like walking distance from a park that I was told like 5 years before that, maybe 5 to 10 years, that was like filled with just like homeless and a lot of drug activity in that park. And then
Right.
that park alone was beautiful. Like families and kids go there. So it's like such a contrast that happens within a few years. And then I'm sure there's that continuing of that bordering in Jersey City itself. There's just
Yeah.
areas. I mean, that's kind of many areas in the States. One neighborhood is just it's just a complete contrast 5 minutes away.
Yeah, yeah. And that was a big part of the reason why I knew that I was telling a story where, there's so many divisions in cultures and ideas and just
Hmm.
how these people live, that I really wanted to show that. And this proof of concept is only a small little nugget of that. The feature is really going to dive deep into how that could evolve in, obviously, a bad way, but ultimately, like, Generation Hack is going to come out on top, and like Hilt as a character is going to grow from this experience. And she's that rebel type that wants to change this and make things better. And I think that's the story I'm really telling, and Jersey City just happens to be the environment that she's in. So, but from this, this was pretty much the last moments that we were able to spend together before you completely, changed your life. You uprooted and were moving to Seattle. So Generation Hack is this last big thing that we did together, which, like I said, is so interesting because we started with Gray Skies, which is this sci-fi film
Hmm.
that ended our high school careers, that has been lost due to, a terrible extreme circumstance with a hard drive. And now we're here with Generation Hack, a sci-fi epic proof of concept that is now going to world premiere at Big Apple Film Festival, which I am very excited about. And I couldn't have done that without your support and without you producing in the beginning days. Like, we went back to Jersey City because once I had the script written, I was like,
Hmm.
Rob, I want to walk around Jersey City with you again, from a producing standpoint, from a location scouting standpoint. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? And like, again, we went to some very interesting spots that you already like kind of had in mind, and it was brilliant. It was brilliant what we wound up with.
Yeah, we kind of like went all over. That was a whole day of driving around and like going to like random spots all throughout Jersey City, and like just like I forget the name of the large park. We went to that large park near the water, I believe.
Riverview
You
Fisk Park.
Okay, that was actually a different park. We went to
Oh,
so many parks. There's a larger park, that's like the largest park in Jersey City, but that was another park that had a great that overlook. And then we went there that day, right? That
yeah.
weekend as well. That was
The,
awesome.
the the park that was used in the film.
In the film, yeah.
I believe so, because that was what inspired the whole entire grind
Yeah.
fest and Bard being there showing Hilt his new hack and everything like that.
Mhm.
It's a pivotal moment in the proof of concept, and it takes on a whole new life in the whole feature.
Mhm.
And I'll be completely honest, if this gets picked up, I really want to go back to that park and I really want to shoot the film there because I love this place.
Yeah.
And to be able to actually set up this festival, it's called Grind Fest, where all these different biohackers come to see their favorite bands and like different people presenting to an audience their different biohacks and stuff like that. Like it's just this interesting festival with food trucks and makeshift DIY surgeries going on and shit like that. Like I want to be able to actually film it at this park in Jersey City because I love this space and it needs to be there. It needs to still be
Mhm.
there. But yeah,
I
we went to so many places. I don't know if you remember any of
Yeah.
them.
Remember the bringing around the train tracks, bringing into like different alleyways and like this weird eclectic antique shop or thrift store that's like
Yes.
bizarre. I don't even think I knew about the place until like discovering it or bringing to the area, and then we realized there was this weird space with this. It was just like a hoarding
Yeah.
store. It felt
It was
like.
cool. I have so many pictures of that place, and I was really, really
That's
trying
right.
hard to work it into the script and into the film
Oh
because we were gonna use it for like the underground like biohacking store.
yeah,
And
we
it was
asked
like,
them about it.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. And it's probably a no-go, right? That was why we
No.
didn't use it. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, that whole experience was amazing. And then you were still able to be around for the casting process, which I was looking at the casting videos the other day, and man, we had so many talented people that came out for this film. And I purposely left it um multicultural. I didn't want to force myself into a bubble where I was looking for a specific lead. I wanted every single talent that was interested in this character to come out for Hilt specifically. Bard too, but Hilt I knew had to be this unique person, no matter what culture, no matter what ethnicity she came from, and I was looking through so many people, and we had a lot of different people, but Angel just blew it out of the park. And I watched her video the other day, and I probably should have sent it to you so you could have watched it again. But do you remember that experience of casting Gen Hack?
Oh, I remember you immediately was like drawn for like she felt right at the time. Obviously, we were like going through the entire casting, but um, I know it was a potent experience for her and for us.
The casting was really one of the last things you were able to do with us in person,
Mhm.
which was very important. And I was happy that you were there to be able to select these amazing actors, Angel and James. And then your life completely changed. You went off to Seattle, and we had this remote thing going on for a while we were filming. Once we wrapped, as I've been telling everyone, the pandemic kind of got in the way of what we were doing there. And I'm sure that was like a way crazy, interesting experience for you being in a completely different place and then having to deal with that. But I don't really want to delve too much into the pandemic. I want you to tell us like your life is completely different from what it was. And it started in this moment where we finished Gen Hack. And I'd love to hear just a little bit of your journey and where you are today and what Rob means to the world.
Because of Matt Hahn, my life has changed so much. I couldn't have done it.
Oh my goodness. This isn't the Praise Matt Hahn podcast. This is the Hahn Films podcast. So
But in many ways, there's imprints, as you said, even in the beginning of like, we have so many parallels. Yeah, like we have a lot of contrasts in our lives, but then a lot of like bonds. Just like there's a lot of parallels that are funny enough connected, and we go on these grand adventures, and they both impact us, like inspire us each other. We inspire each other through our lives, as different as they are.
Yeah.
And just remembering with Gen Hack, because I was living in Jersey City when you initially, for the first visit, and then when you actually came up with Gen Hack and you came back, because I know before living in Seattle, before moving to Seattle, I lived in Jersey again, my parents' house in Old Bridge again after Jersey City. So I moved there back for a year, I believe,
Right.
and then I
Right.
moved to Seattle. And I'm trying to remember where Gen Hack. I'm guessing I think when I lived back at home, you were starting Gen Hack because I wasn't living in Jersey City again when we went to visit for scouting, if I'm
Right,
correct.
right. That makes complete sense because even when we started filming, but I think when we started filming, you had already left anyway. But we asked Brandy to
Oh,
use
that's
her
right.
place for staging, and yeah, so that was super helpful.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean the timeline. That's why I
Oh,
said I think
yeah.
like when I came to visit you was probably like 2018 or sometime like that
Yeah.
when I came up with the idea for Gen Hack, and then over the course of that next year I honed in on the concept, and then yeah, went from there. But yeah, I guess you weren't living there at that time, but I knew I needed you with me because you knew the ins and outs of the city.
Mhm. Yeah, that's just bringing me perspective again of like that entire time of like multiple years. I
Yeah,
forgot how long that was.
yeah,
Um,
creative ideas take forever
they-
sometimes. It's funny.
Yeah.
I just thought of another little
It's-
nugget, and I don't mean to like
no.
intersect, but we went to that amazing art gallery in Jersey City that I really,
Oh,
really wanted to
yes.
use for the underground store, and it was just I think it was like just out of the question, or like it was too hard to like figure all the pieces out. But that's another place that like when I am going to film the feature, I want to go back there and actually use that space for
Mhm.
for the marketplace, the biohacking marketplace, because the place is amazing. And I just feel like if there's gonna
Mhm.
be a place that they transform into that in the future, it's gonna be this
Yeah.
place.
No, that's an amazing. I went there for an event. That's how I knew about it. It's like a venue and an art gallery space,
Yeah.
giant, open, like beautiful warehouse, like kind of like white space.
Yeah.
And I think that would be amazing to go back to. I'm curious of what they're doing to go to an event in the meantime. I'd like
Yeah.
to look it up again.
Let's
It
let's
would be great to experience Jersey City with you sometime.
Yeah, we need to do that again 100% when you're back.
Mhm. So through that though, I did. Yes, I moved to Seattle. I that was a point, to keep it very brief. That was just a very stressful point internally for me. I think boiling up into that point, I knew I wanted to move. I wanted to do something major. When I was younger, I wanted to go to the West Coast, but I never did. And like all these like interesting areas. I was working for my dad at the time. I had a lot of like options and possibilities, but I was still very unsure of myself. I felt very unambitious. I wasn't confident in like a grand vision of my life. I didn't know how to write my movie for myself. And I had, it's funny, I was actually researching at the time, Matt. I'm not sure if I told you, I became really interested in the Pacific Crest Trail, which is that giant long through trail on the West Coast.
I think you
Uh,
mentioned it to me, yeah.
it's like a multi-month like hike. Very famous. It was made famous by a woman who wrote a book about it, of her own journey, and that became a movie too. Anyway, did a lot of research and bought like gear for it, and then one of my previous employers reached out to me that I worked in New York and was like, "Hey, remember me? It's been 3 years." And I was like, "Yeah, I remember Gaza." And then he hit me up and he's like, "You want to work on this project in Seattle with me? And this is a startup." And I was like, "Yeah, even if it goes nowhere, like that was my excuse, and it was just like my calling. It was like
Right.
the universe was like, just take it, just do it." And I was like, "I'm just gonna move it, and I'm gonna move and figure it out." And I did, and that led me as well. Many people like, "Why are you in Seattle?" I was like, "Life. I don't know. Universe just whispered in my ear, and I needed to do something."
Yeah.
And that is also why I'm in Colorado. Seattle was a excellent 3 years. it was also during the pandemic. Anywhere was going to be an interesting spot for that.
Yeah.
My last year in Seattle, I met and discovered like community that I felt really called to, and like new friendship that I'm still friends with now and will probably have forever in my life as well. And even then I was like, I could just settle in. I could like find like a partner. I could just stay here. This group of people is amazing. I moved through a lot of things. They introduced me to a lot, especially in my own spiritual like development as well. It opened just like people doing alternative lifestyles like coaching, facilitators, all sorts of different practitioners. They don't have 9 to 5 jobs, all sorts of modalities of coaching, body workers, energy workers, all you name it. I'm like, this exists. I was like, and y'all making money and like traveling all the time and like just doing whatever, like a lot of flexible scheduling and not a 9 to 5 job that you don't hate, that you hate. And it just opened a lot for me. Anyway, even then, Matt, I knew, I was like, this is still not right. So I moved back home for about a year, a little over a year. I took an online coaching program with the Brave Thinking Institute. It's a transformational coaching, transformational coaching, and I've been through that for over a year, and that has helped me a lot. And I'm also now a certified coach through them as well, the Brave Thinking Institute. It's a lot of integral and evocative coaching, so evoking from the person and asking questions, helping the person to make changes in their life, rather than like directive coaching of like, I'm an expert and I'm going to help you do what you want to do and hold you accountable and tell you the things best in your life. This
Right.
is like very evocative, is evoking from that person for self-empowerment changes. And that was like in a mixing pot while I was living at home again, but still didn't know what I wanted to do because didn't have a job. My schedule was completely open, and I got to see you a couple times, I'm pretty sure, and just to reconnect with some friends. And I moved to Boulder, Colorado, and I've been here for a year and a half. And it's also just a great challenge and kind of going with the flow, but I've been more empowered than I ever have been, more confident in what I want to achieve in my life. I've been going to the gym for the past few months that I've never done before. I'm studying under a teacher for Qigong, energy practices and meditation practices. And that's just been more anchors in my life. And currently I'm the manager at a sustainable grocery store called Nude Foods Market. And these are all things I never like would have planned, but it's actually, even with the unknown, and I'm still confident in like what I would love, it's the actual containers looking different. I never thought I would be a manager at a grocery store, and nor would I be a manager at any grocery store, but I'm learning so much right now to move me forward and to maybe one day be a producer on another Hahn Films.
Oh yeah, that door is always and will be
We'll
open.
see. Maybe revisiting Gray Skies. Who knows?
Oh wow, yeah, that'd be interesting. We'll have to see what happens with Generation Hack, and then maybe I'll just be known as a sci-fi director, which is funny because I was always known as the crime director early on in my life.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's amazing, Rob. As I said earlier when we started, seeing you going through this journey, and when we do get to reconnect, it's very interesting. We're on completely different paths in our lives, but you're so inspiring, and the way you look at the world is positive and uplifting. And even though I'm sure just like anyone, you have your moments that are negative, and it's hard to get past some of those sometimes, but I feel like you just have the right mindset to overcome these things. And there needs to be more people like you in the world, and I'm so happy to know you, and in the capacity we were before, but like even more so now, because I can come to you and talk to you about things that I just can't have these types of conversations with other friends. And it's great to be able to have worked with you professionally and just be one of your good friends for these reasons. So Rob, I want to thank you today for coming on here and taking time out in your busy schedule to interview on the Hahn Films podcast. And I hope to see you soon. I know you're coming home in a little while, and I hope that we can cross paths, and maybe I'll sneak you a little private, very, very, very private Gen Hack viewing in the theater so that you could at least see it, since you were a producer in the beginning days, and you are still credited as so in the credits.
I would love that. I expect to see the film at some point. I would hope so.
Yes. Well,
I know
I'm gonna try and there's gonna be a huge festival run, hopefully. So I'm hoping to get into some more festivals on the West Coast. So hopefully there'll be one that lands somewhere near you that you might be able to just go and represent us.
I would love that. That'd be. I mean, for the continuation, like for you to bring this up just even like a couple months ago of like the Gen Hack like evolving again was like, wow, it's bringing up so much, and to see the new evolution of it is very exciting. And for everyone watching, like I'm still like there's a lot of unknowns of like I don't know the progress of really like where it's going. Like I don't know a lot of this right now. So I'm in for it, and I would love to continue it with you, Matt, and excited to see it. Unless if this has been an entire hoax and this doesn't even exist, which this is all fake. This is not even a real podcast. This is just for a movie he's just making. I even know.
Actually, you're not even talking to Matt Hahn.
Yeah.
It's Ethan Hunt.
It's Ethan Hunt.
Rob,
but yeah.
Love you, brother. Thank
love
you.
You too.
Oh, that was Robert Mannanice, my old friend and producing partner who has worked on Tiger Lily, Legacy of Snakes. We experimented with Treasure Mine Studios, and now Generation Hack. I was very grateful to speak with him today. It's been a little while, and I am always enlightened by the things that he has to say, and he is always a positive force in my life, and I hope today he can be a positive force in yours. Keep an eye out on Hahn Films social media and the podcast to learn more about Generation Hack, cast and crew, and other productions going on here at Hahn Films. In the meantime, I'm Matt Hahn. This is the Hahn Films Podcast, and I will see you and hear you in the next one.